one of the former residents of Drawbridge, who began coming to the island and the summer resort as a child of 10 in 1910. She lived on the island for a time as an adult, permanently, and later occasionally. The interview took place in the building that was once her permanent residence, now vandalized and sinking into the bay. We were using the building as a base camp, and at the beginning of our archaeological project did not realize that it had been Ms. Dollin's home. She now retains a smaller building, a cabin type of building on the other side of the railroad tracks where the ground is higher. She still retains some of her belongings in that building. She has barbed wire around it, but vandals still attack it. She does not stay there anymore. Her children feel it's too dangerous for her at the age of 78. Ms. Dollin agreed to come out and be interviewed and also identify some old photographs and buildings in the photographs. On August 12, 1978, we were told before she came that there were two things that would cause her to refuse to talk further with us if they were mentioned. One was if we referred to Drawbridge as a ghost town, it would offend her. And the other was the fact that she resists the idea that there were ever any goings-on in Drawbridge that were not proper. She vehemently discredits stories of gambling, prostitution, and other things that she would consider very negative to the image of Drawbridge.
Yes. Where would you be most comfortable? Would you like to go sit down? We have a chair in the Oh, it has. You mean they break in, or? Okay. Oh, no, we have a chair. Do they actually break into your place? Oh, 20 years. Oh. That's really unfortunate.
Well, they don't even tell the truth about the place. They just make up a story, and people come out here and this is a wild place, and rats see what they can find, and
My goodness.
tear things to pieces.
Mm.
There's been a lot of good stuff stolen.
Oh, dear.
People have real nice furniture in the olden days, antique, now.
Yeah.
It's not given.
Oh.
So, place it turned in now. I got pictures of showing you how they wrecked it one day. Oh.
Nellie told us that she had brought some pictures to share, some of the inside of her home after vandals had been there one day while she was gone. She also brought a few others of the early days in Drawbridge and was eager to see the ones that we had also.
When we walked down the track off of the bridge, these are the places that burned down just the other day.
Oh, they
So
are.
4 of them
Oh.
this was taken quite a ways back, and most of the places were here. Give you kind of an idea what it looked like.
Oh. I was wondering what they looked like. We were measuring them and to see the
And then
size.
this place burned down at the same time. That's down at the other bridge.
Mm. It's at the south end.
Yeah. And this is a picture of the hotel and the station, give you an idea before it collapsed. Collapsed in a big storm.
Oh.
It The train station went down in a storm?
No, the hotel did.
The hotel.
The hotel went down.
5 or 6 years ago. So this is taken before the fire in the 30s. Just looking around the late 30s, I guess I took that. Well, this is the place we're in now.
Oh,
Yeah.
And this is the same place. This is that room there. See how it was wrecked one day, all the windows broken.
Oh my, that's really too bad.
So
And
neat.
these are the windows there on the outside. And this is the bedroom in there. See how that was all wrecked?
Oh.
And this is this spot right here.
Oh, oh, how nice
This is
that
all
was.
knotty pine. And this is the sink over there, and my refrigerator was in that corner.
Oh my, that's a shame.
Now this is the place I'm in now. How nice I had it, but it's all shot. Wait till you see it.
I see what the evidence of the people going through
Oh,
that.
they just
Well, that's terrible. It really is. Oh my. Your place looked just lovely inside now.
Very charming.
I fixed it all myself.
You did it all by yourself. Oh,
This refrigerator, is this refrigerator?
Yeah, that's it laying out there.
oh.
So people stole the rest of the stuff?
Yeah, the people come in and steal everything.
Oh, I was going to ask that
You
too.
know, let's see, what did I do? I finally have to throw the stove overboard, I think.
So there's some?
It's around the marsh here somewhere.
Oh.
Oh, it's out in there, I think.
When did you first come to Drawbridge now?
In June 1910, I was 10 years old. Or 1900, so I don't know how old I am. 78.
It's very convenient.
That's a-
Here it is in the morning.
It really
I was
is.
78 in October.
Nellie was impressed with photos that were taken around the train station in the very early times, and were in the Southern Pacific Archives.
Charlie said that these were bags of coal.
Maybe took them individually, huh?
Well, it could be because there was a potbelly stove inside the station.
Yeah, this is.
And they burn primarily coal in the stoves here.
It could be, it could be grain, it's coal, I guess. No, there was a stove back in that corner, and they burned coal for the bridge tenders, like on wintertime coal mornings, you know. Because one time I commuted from here on the old milk train, and the bridge tender, the late shift bridge tender would be in there, he had a fire going, and so that's coal. I rode on that thing from Alviso one night.
Oh, you did? Oh,
Quite a story.
wow, oh
It
my.
was, you got your recorder?
Yes, I do have. That sounds wonderful.
It was before my father passed away. It was in our first house. Our first house, the second house is that one over there with the hip roof with the shingles on way over there.
Oh, that was a nice place.
And my father was already down here. This was around 1918. I had a boyfriend. And I thought, well, I'd bring him down for the weekend. My father and my stepmother were already here. So I come on the train from Oakland Pier. I don't know whether it was one of the ones that going to Los Angeles. And the conductor says, well, we're not stopping there tonight. And I said, well, I gotta get off there. And he said, well, we'll just slow down, and my father will be at the station soon, and you can yell at him. So the train was slow, and I yelled at my father. I said, gee, Papa, I says, the train won't stop. And there was another couple on the train, and this woman, she was pregnant, quite a ways along to have a place here. So my father got the bridge tender, and he got this, put it on the track, and he went to Alviso and picked us up because the train stopped in Alviso, which is about 3 miles from here. So her and I, we rode on this, and the two men, they had to walk.
Oh,
You know, that reminds me of it.
did you run that yourself? Or
Oh,
did
no,
No?
the bridge tender ran up here.
Oh, he ran it, huh?
Yeah.
Nellie was referring to the hand car that she had seen in the picture.
I can just see that. But my father sent him down there with that to pick us up. Because I said we'd get off at Alviso.
Nellie's attention returned to the picture of the train station. She pointed to the large sign that was on top of the roof, which said Drawbridge.
I didn't realize
Somebody
that.
stole this.
Oh, dear.
I wasn't quick enough to get a hold of it first.
Referring to the place her father built behind the station.
See, this is the place I was telling you about.
Oh, yes, that's a nice
And
place.
the first place we had was right in here. And they
Oh,
moved it up to a Scal. You know where a Scal is up at Larkspur? Up at Greenbrae.
oh, yes, I know where that is.
And the man who owned it, see, my father rented it off of him. And he lived in here, Richie lived in here. And we rented it, my father rented it.
Oh,
And then my father bought this place. And then Mr. Ritchie sold this place. And all the men here in Drawbridge, they got together, because it was a large place. I'll show you a picture of it, I got it home. And they jacked it up. A big barge came in on the high tide. And they jacked it up and put it on this barge, and they took it up the bay, even went by the ferry building, over to Greenbrae, and it's still over there because last year I went with a charter bus to Tiburon, and then we went on to Larkspur, and so I could see it up there on the levee.
oh my, that's pretty
Someday I'm
exciting.
going to go up on the boat and take a picture of it up there. Machine shop right here.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Reinhardt had a machine shop here. That front building was way up in front, and I moved it back.
Oh,
Some people here and some men from this SB come one Saturday, and we had the platform already built, and the man I know in San Jose sent some 2-inch pipe out here for rollers, and we rolled that house right up against this one.
wow.
All the crazy things I've done. Don't put all this.
But then I think that's wonderful, and then you did most of the work in getting the house the way you wanted it.
Yeah, they put all my time in here.
They would all.
I had beautiful linoleum tile, kind of like flagstone linoleum from Armstrong.
Oh,
Pretty red tile.
wow.
Oh, I had it real nice. My stove was there. Then I put the kitchen in there after. And when I picture I showed you it's all vandalized.
Yeah. That was in there?
Yeah, and then of course the same day they vandalized all this book, every window in the place.
Oh.
Terrible.
Mm.
Yeah, this was the machine shop. He had a lathe and what else? They had the repair boats. He was a German, and he was very good at repairing boats. And
Reinhardt?
Reinhardt, he had, during the war, they wanted to put him in a concentration camp, I think it was, but somehow they put him in the government plant over here in Sunnyvale or something. I don't know all the details.
Mm.
But he was quite a character. He used to say, "Spitz." You know, he talked like that, "Spitz." He was quite friendly with my father. Then his wife died, and then he sold this place in Rockhouse.
Mm.
This was in 1932, I think I bought this place.
And that's when you put the two places together.
Yeah. No, I didn't put the two places together until about, I don't know, sometime in the late 40s.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The boat work that Reinhardt did he do it just for the people in Drawbridge?
Because everybody here had a launch in those days, you know. The inboard motors. My father had an 18-foot launch with an old Buffalo engine in it. And that's before all the outboard motors, you know.
Oh.
Everybody had their sailboats for heavy, and there was even some sailboats here.
Mm.
So it was enough business for him.
Oh yeah, because around 82 places here one time, and everybody used to come out for weekends, you know, Saturday and Sunday, with all the children. We'd swim, go boating, fishing. Good friends out here in this slew, those mud ponds.
Oh, my.
And get shrimp with a net, fish for smelt and striped bass.
The bay was substantially cleaner at that time.
How many people came in the summers while you were growing up? How many families would you estimate?
Pretty early place, maybe. There was, used to be 2 or 3 trains in the morning, 2 or 3 trains in the afternoon, and 2 or 3 in the evening, you know. And there was plenty of transportation up until about 19... let's see, was right after I broke my elbow. I don't know, I got it home. The trains have been off about 20 years now, but we can't ride them anymore.
Nellie was shown another photo.
That's Mr. Rich's house.
Is it Mr. Richie's house right here?
Yeah, it burned down 3 years ago. And that's my dad's place. He left there that day to go hunting, and he never came back. He died.
Oh, your father?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. He was here in Drawbridge when that...
Yeah, it was the opening of the duck season.
Oh.
He went by boat from here up to, you know where the old sewer plant is up in Milpitas on the Highway 17?
Oh, yeah.
In the Nimitz? And there's an airport there, little airport. Well, right behind there is a slough and an island. And you could go all the way from here up there.
I didn't know that.
He had a pond there.
My goodness.
And that's where he died. He was opening the duck season. He shot a couple of ducks and picked up one and reached for the other one and dropped dead.
Oh.
And there was a friend with him, and he went over and found him, but he was gone.
Oh, that's... did all of your family spend most of the summer here when you came down, or would you spend a weekend or a week at a time, or...
No, shut this off for a minute.
It was interesting to note that Nellie was very open in speaking about many things about her experiences at Drawbridge. For instance, she had been married 3 times and spoke very openly about that, but she was very sensitive about her parents and the family relationships. Her mother and father were divorced when she was about 8 or 9, she explained. And when she went to Drawbridge with her father, the mother did not go. She did not like Drawbridge at all. And so after they were separated, the father remarried. And the summers that Nellie spent after that on Drawbridge while she was growing up were with the father and stepmother. She spoke about living on Drawbridge as an adult and mentioned that up until 14 years ago that she had spent a great deal of time here, had lived here permanently and commuted on the train a great deal of the time.
I lived here constantly.
I see. Were you living here a great deal of the time at the time of the vandalism started?
Yeah. Yeah, in the very beginning of it, yeah, around 1940.
It started that early?
Oh, yeah.
Weren't you afraid? Were you afraid?
No, I wasn't afraid. It wasn't too severe at that time. But I had dogs. Yeah, I had 2 dogs, and I had a gun and 2 guns, and I wasn't afraid. In fact, I commuted sometimes. I worked in San Francisco. I commuted on the Lark for a couple of years. And then around late 1940 and into the 50s, I worked in San Jose. I went back and forth on the daylight. From here, the SP stopped the train for me. And I worked in the Elks Club in San Jose. I worked in the office. And then I married again in 55, I think it was. And I stayed married a couple of years. And I was up at Bethel Island. A little bit. We didn't have mobiles. We had motel, bait shop, berths for boats. I couldn't stand that heat up there, and I came back here. Now what do you want to know? I took this picture.
You took this picture?
You know, that's a rowboat. It was laying right out there.
Oh.
Out where?
Right alongside the building there.
Oh, this is from
There was
here?
a porch there, and I was standing on the porch. Yeah.
This building?
Yeah. That was on a flood tide. I took that picture in January.
Yeah, January.
It's looking towards the south.
Are the big tides right there in the winter?
Oh, yeah, they come right over the railroad tracks.
Oh, really? Oh. Those
So
are.
even when the island was high, you had problems with water coming up close to the floorboards?
Come up to where?
Close to the floor?
Not when I first came here, no. All the buildings were high then. It's through the years that the land sunk.
Oh, yeah. There's a nice boat in this building right back over here. Have you, it's apparently been there all for a lot of years. Well, we looked at it and thought it might be a scull boat. Charlie says it's a sailboat. And I wondered who it might be.
That boathouse. That's a boathouse over there. That red building?
Yeah,
That's a boathouse. That belonged to, let me show you, where's my map? Let's see. Yeah. This is the boathouse there. Here's the house here. And it belonged to this party. Stern and Adams.
That's a nice map.
I don't want to leave this go. This is Richie's. This is our first house. And this is that one over there, the shingle one.
Oh, yes.
And this is the one I'm in now.
Oh, yes.
Who made this map? Is this an SP map?
It's an SP map. You see, everybody had to pay for rental of walks for the SP. It was on SP property.
Oh.
And the SP sent me this map. I really don't know when it was made, but the time I got it was about 1932. Yes, it gives all the places here, even the ones that are all burnt down.
Yeah. Nellie was then shown some more photos that had been lent us by Charlie Luce, the only resident who still lives in Drawbridge, and served as another informant.
Are these the ones that you got from Charlie?
Yes. This is the oldest house.
That's the oldest house here, the first one here. The Gordon.
Gordon Gunfund. Is that what the original name?
Yeah. The hunters, when they first came here, there weren't any houses yet. And they stayed in there, and they kept churns cooking. They had one frying pan, and they just one stove, and maybe dishes, and they just took turns cooking their breakfast or whatever. Hunters, This is a picture that was taken long before this big fire. We had a big fire on May 1st in, let's see what year was that? Well, since I've been living up in England, so about 10 years ago, and there were 11 places burned down that afternoon. Terrible wind was blowing. It started right here in this place. The wind blew over and burned the Julie Lodge, that's the house in front of that boathouse over there where you saw the boat. And then it got Herrera's and the Bridge and Gun Club, which was the Tanages. And they got this place down. And Tony's Gun Club, and Garden Wall, which is back here. And I've got these. Let's see, I got Schumacher and Murdoch.
My goodness. That's all at the south end. Where did you
No,
say?
that's all this right in here.
Oh, right in here. Oh, I'm all turned around. Where did it,
See, we're right here now.
yes, okay.
It started, George Pegg started then.
Oh. At George Pegg's
It
place.
caught Schumacher.
Oh.
Charlie, and then as the wind blew it over this way,
Oh,
it
my.
caught, it didn't catch that, it caught this one. Hi, Charlie. You didn't go?
Hi.
Not already.
How could you possibly be?
My daughter called and she said, "Do you want to listen to her air conditioner broke down and
Oh.
18 up here, so come on up and join the crowd. You don't have to have a fire for your barbecue. Just set everything out the sun.
Oh. That must be something.
Lay it on the sidewalk."
Charlie had dropped by to say hello to Nellie. He asked her how she had liked the races. She had gone to the horse races the week before. She had told us earlier that it was very hot and she had been there all day and that there were a lot of people there, and she felt that this was where she had caught her cold. One of the reasons that her voice seems very soft and she's difficult to understand on this tape at times is that her voice would fade when she would become hoarse. She said that she had had her cold ever since she had gone over to the racetrack. When she was talking with Charlie about this, however, when she realized that the conversation was being recorded, she again asked me to turn off the tape recorder. Apparently, she felt that discussion of the races that she attended was not something virtuous. I'm not sure what her objection was, but she really did not want the conversation recorded. And so the conversation was picked up again when Charlie asked her about the Chinese people who had been in Drawbridge. The accounts that we had, and according to what Charlie told us, our information indicated that there had been a camp of Chinese people camped between the railroad station and the Bishop cabin across from the hotel area, and that they had a camp there, that they fished for shellfish and sold them to the local people as well as to restaurants in San Francisco. At an earlier time, our information was that they had worked for the railroad, and at the time they were here, and Charlie wasn't sure just what dates that included, that they also worked on dikes and had helped build a dike around the hotel. It was also implied that they were not treated very well by the local people. However, Charlie now asked Nellie about the Chinese people who lived here.
You mean the Chinese that used to sell the clams instead
Yeah.
of days? They're right out in front here, the Flesh Shack. Right by the station. It's for the Richie.
Yeah.
You know, I'm all twisted here where I am now.
Richie's down the line.
Yeah, way down there.
On the other side of your old place, your father.
Yeah, right in front of Richie's. By the railroad track, you can still see the foundation still there. Now, if you want to explore, there you see some underpinnings sticking up in the ground.
It's plain. That's the old station.
It's on the other side of the station.
Oh, there's still some
South of the station.
This on the other side of, you know where the walk went into Ritchie's? Well, right on the other side of Ritchie's walk, you can still see the uprights there.
You don't walk.
From the old shack where the Chinaman lived in. And he dug clams here. That's when I first came here. And he used to take them in on the train and sell them in San Jose. But you can see the...
But there was only one family? There weren't a group of families?
Chinese?
Yeah.
No, only one.
Well, it probably was at one time, Nellie, when they were laboring on the railroad.
Well, maybe that's before I came here. That's a long time ago. You see, this was a narrow gauge first here. I don't know how far back that goes. You could turn out from the SP in that field. And then they put they were putting the standard gauge through the time of the big earthquake. And that's when line sprung. The engineer was on the sidetrack there, stopping up, for get ready to work on the bridge. And the earthquake came, and the old Reinhardt, that guy was wrecking his house, and he come out, he was going to shoot the guy.
Oh my.
All these places went down on the ground during the earthquake, yeah.
I mean, that's what happens a lot of
I heard they were
Never were raised.
No, they were raised again, Charlie. All these places used to be high up. Oh, yeah, they used to put their boats underneath the house.
Oh.
So
they were up on
high stilts, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We called it a penny, yeah.
Oh.
Charlie asked Nellie about the people who had owned the boathouse that we talked about earlier that still had the sailboat in it.
That was their boathouse back there. They were very well-to-do people in San Francisco. They had a beautiful launch in there one time, all mahogany, and they had canoe in there, in that boathouse, and a sailboat. You see sailboat.
The remnants are still there.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's her name?
Wait a minute. Adams.
Oh, Adam.
The name is on some of the lumber in this place. Adams. Remember that?
No. No, the lumber was, most likely, because, what's his name, that had this place before Reinhardt was,
German.
well, the German was Reinhardt. No, this was a Portuguese. Let's see, what was his name? He was a wonderful hunter in spellbooks. No,
Cordoza?
no.
The one guy that made the spellboats?
No, you mean Robbie?
No.
Robbie made spellbooks.
No, it's a Portuguese man down here made.
Yeah, that's how I'm trying to think of his name.
Yeah. Well, this is Centerville. Fremont now. I think he's still alive.
Yeah, I guess he is, yeah. What was I talking about?
Well, we were talking about the name Adams.
Oh, well, he probably stole it. We used to...
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's was nailed down around here? What the difference was his name? And the bridge tenders,
Hardy.
and Ferrera, and Holden.
Yeah.
And, what was the name of that man that owned this place? Anyway, anything was laying out there on the track that they wanted, they'd pick it up. So that's probably where you saw Adam.
Actually, belongs to those people over there.
Yeah.
They must have quite a pile of it. There's lots of them, actually.
Oh, I know.
Oh, my.
I know.
Well, they buy Castro. Unusually high tide.
Yeah, they all had,
And they got in the morning, here was this pile of lumber. Where do you suppose this came from?
they put it off there on the side, you know, and
And very carefully put the name of the person who it belongs to in. Cover it up.
yeah.
It happens that they knocked it off so you can read it inside.
Well, Adams was written on that boathouse, in the boathouse.
Oh, we in there, but we saw it here too.
Now, they had kind of, had quite a time on Saturday night, those people in there.
The Adams?
And, yeah, one time, this is when I was about 17 years old, one Saturday night, this guy was out there climbing on the roof looking for strawberries.
That's quite an imagination.
A lot of crazy things I remember.
Charlie commented that that place of his had burned down, and Nellie confirmed this.
The fire came across that place, the wind blew.
Wow.
It was burning on both sides. Miller's place burned up the same time.
We figure he started it.
Oh, Miller?
Don't you think he did?
Yeah, because we didn't like him anyway.
Yeah.
Well, now,
He hadn't been here very long.
No.
He might want to get the insurance, you know.
That's where the guys were.
But we just surmised that, you know.
They were holed up there for a week or two.
Oh my God, that's when I was.
living here.
I was working in San Jose, and I was going back and forth on the train.
Nice.
And these guys were holed up in that place. It was right across from me, right across over there. Yeah. And they were watching me, and I never knew they were in there. And then it was on Saturday, I think it was, and I heard shooting down the other end. It was during duck season, I think. And I went out on the track, and I see these two guys down there. So then when Loopy came by, you know, the railroad man, I said, Loopy, there's somebody down there. Let's go down and see. And we went down there, and when he was going down, one guy was along the track and going to take a shot at Loopy.
Oh, my.
And they come back around all the back of those places and got in the house and grabbed their belongings and got out and got way up there across the bridge. And they got into Newark. And they got on the train there, and they thought they were getting out of the country, but the train was going to Centerville. And, of course, I had called the police by then, and they caught them over there. And they said that they had been watching me for a whole week. Well, I was gone.
You never know what kind of a...
So there you are. Here I was all alone.
Oh, my.
And they were watching me, and Ruby, when he went in that house, he said it was just ready to catch on fire. They had everything electric going, and he said the switch box was red hot.
Oh.
And he said there were knives all over the table and guns and things like that.
My goodness.
You were the ones that stole Pacheco's guns that time, weren't they? Did they steal their guns and then stack them up along the railroad there? Remember that?
Hmm?
Pacheco's. They stole all of Pacheco's and
Could be, I don't know.
Chin's gun and
No, anyway, but
Eddie Souza.
they probably would have stole. They probably would have stole my guns, but the dogs were here. I guess the dogs scared them away. I don't know. They never got in here.
Found the guns later, much later. They were ruined salt grass.
Oh, for goodness sakes. That's very strange.
Well, I had some good experiences here in this place.
None because it was had your granddaughter here.
Oh my God, that was a terrible night. Yeah, we were here in this house. She was only, she was 17 then, wasn't she? She came down for a couple of days.
I wonder what I brought you down that time. I don't know.
I think you did. I think you brought us here, and we were here alone, and it was a moonlight night, and she was watching TV around 9 o'clock, and I came out here to look around, and I see these two cars coming in, and I went back, and when they got out of the car, all these kids that were shouting and yelling, you knew they were drunk. And I told her, I says, Debbie, I says, I'm going to have trouble. I says, you get under the table and you stay there.
Oh.
So I came back out here, and they had come across the bridge, and that first place, you know, where the bums were burned down, they broke in there. And I fired the shotgun, but they didn't hear us. So then they come on down the track, every place they went in. And when they got to our place, they kicked down the front door out there, and that time my shop had gone out the window, and everything went dead still. And then we didn't know where they were. We were scared to go out and look, and we stayed up all night.
Didn't you see the cars leave?
No, I wouldn't go out. I didn't know where they were.
There was no window where you could look.
I didn't know where they were, Charlie. It went dead silent. When I shot that gun, it went dead silent.
That's strange.
And I couldn't hear whether they walked away or nothing. I couldn't tell. And I was scared to go out.
Oh, yeah.
So we just stayed in here.
That would be a terrible
And
This is like frontier, the Indian age.
we were so scared, we filled the bucket up the whole night.
Oh. Oh,
Throw
no.
that at 'em.
Oh, God, it was terrible.
Did your granddaughter live at the time? Oh.
In Oakland, not Oakland, in San Leandro.
Oh. Oh.
She's back in Indianapolis, you know.
Oh. Did she come out with you often when she was here?
Yes, she loved it here. My grandson, they both loved it here.
Oh.
What's your grandson's name? One used to Debbie's brother.
Yeah, Gary.
Gary.
Yeah. And then my grandson in Reading is Ronald.
Again, Nellie turned back to the photographs.
Well, what else we got there? We got it. Black pictures, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, they are.
Was photography your hobby, or did you just take them because you wanted them?
No, I just didn't think I wanted it.
So tell me.
Yeah, that's that big storm. That was, how many years ago was that, Charlie? It was in January. It was a big storm, and it all collapsed.
High water.
Yeah. Maybe that was the time, the big high tide, you know, and there was a great big water tank floated all the way out from Alvisa down the railroad track.
I've forgotten that.
Yeah.
Mm. Oh, wow.
This was in January?
Yeah.
Do you know what year?
Well, that's when we usually had the real high tide.
Not too long ago. It's been since I've been up there.
15, 18 years ago, huh?
Not that long.
Not that long?
No, it's since I've been up there in Hayward. That's only 14 years. No.
How long was the Springs Hotel active?
Up until about 30, I guess.
Oh.
1930. Mm.
Because when I was here during the time of the Depression, they were gone.
Oh, they were.
It was boarded up.
Anything that I've heard about it indicates that it was really nicely furnished inside and everything. Do you remember that?
It wasn't, no, not real. It's just ordinary, like captain's chairs and round card tables. And you see, there was a hallway right down the middle. And on the south side was the dining room in front. And then the little rooms the rest of the way down the hall where hunters used to work and stay overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And on this side was the kitchen in the front. And then behind that was the, where they had their little bar, and a grocery counter. You sold a few groceries and candies and soda pops. And they had 3 or 4 card tables in there, and men used to play cards in the afternoon, the hunters, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And she had a beautiful porch right across the whole front. And she had all plants in there. She had a parrot. And she had dashes.
Ducks in the slough.
Yeah.
Is that right, Nellie?
Right.
She had domestic ducks there, mallard.
Yeah.
Must
Mm-hmm.
be mallard.
So there used to be a little slough all the way around the house.
Mm-hmm.
And ducks used to swim around there.
How neat.
This was a real nice green porch.
Mm.
And then when I was a kid, I used to go in there. My father used to give me a nickel to go get soda pop.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'd go in here and I'd go around here, and the door back here was where you went into.
Mm.
There to get my soda pop.
Oh, neat.
Mrs. Sprung, she used to cook here in the front.
Oh.
And then she had a Indian girl, Benita.
There's the name.
Bonita.
Benita.
No, Bonita lived right there in the little red house.
That little red, there it is right
Oh,
there.
yeah.
She lived in there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's, and she helped Mrs. Sprung there.
What was the little outbuilding?
There was a motor in there, I think.
Mm.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
The original gasoline motor is still there. There's evidence of it. It's south of the ways of that, from that
Oh, excuse me.
little pump house there.
See, the well used to be over here.
How much? Yeah, I want to ask you now. Do you remember when they had when they watered their steam trains there? When they had the original tank wasn't where it is now.
Yeah, I think it is. Well, that's right. They moved the well over, didn't they? The SP put that second well.
They couldn't water their trains from where that is there now. That must have
Well, whenever they did that, Charlie, it must have been an awful long time ago.
that might have been during the Air
Yeah.
days. Yes.
Because when the freight trains, I mean the local freights used to stop here, and the crew used to eat in there, you know, in Sprung's. Eat their lunch in there, eat their meals in there.
Where'd you say the well was? The well was here?
It was, first it was over here, and then it was moved over to here.
Oh, they're both there. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's evidence in the well.
Here and here.
Mm-hmm.
Here and here. And what was on this side?
This was a porch all around here,
Yeah.
all the way around. And you go down here, here's my pictures. Well, here you can see the porch was across the front, and then you come around here. This was a door that went into the room in the back where they had that hard room and a little bars.
Mm-hmm.
There's your Mrs. Station.
Oh, yeah. Mm.
Carmen, through these, all the furniture and the adornments that were in the hotel that Carmen lived in, taken away.
Yeah, I'd say around that time, yeah. Right after my father died, I know that's what it was.
Mm.
And you remember the old
Well,
bishop?
I didn't come down until 1900. I think it was still locked up.
Yeah, but they were, it wasn't in use.
No.
No, that's what
The
they're
place
talking
was
about.
kept locked up.
Yeah,
Well, it had been there.
Oswald,
It hadn't been vandalized, no.
you see, Mrs. Sprung
And there was still some furniture in it.
it wasn't much, was it? Much good.
I
You see, Oswald was Mrs. Sprung's nephew. And then when she died, he inherited that.
Mm.
And I guess he was the one that locked it up. But people broke in and stole.
Oh, yeah. On that door, I got the old door in front of the hotel, and I can see the bullet holes through it. You can see where it's been broken several times, and the door handle is all smashed down. And they started to put a new lock in it, but never completed. I guess it got the best of them. They just let it go.
Mm.
You know, my fence is wide open up there.
Oh, it is? Somebody cut it?
Yeah, well, you know, I had it pieced up, you know, with wire.
They tore it down, huh?
Yeah, anybody can do it.
Oh.
Fix it somewhere or other. But no one's been in there.
No. No, I haven't seen anybody around your place for a long time. I had to run them out and see them.
Nellie went on to another photo and pointed out Dowd's place, called the Sprig Gun Club.
Sprig Gun Club.
Sprig
are considered the best game ducks.
Oh, the sprig duck. I see. Mm.
Yeah, everybody had their cabins named. Everybody had a flagpole. Where I'm living, I had a flagpole, and when I moved to this mobile park, I donated it to them. And when you drive in, maybe you noticed it.
Oh.
And everybody here had flagpoles. Everybody had their lunches. It was all family, wasn't it, Charlie? Nice people.
Mm.
All those people. Yeah. No rough stuff. No, like the paper said, bad women and drinking and carousing and all that. No, it never was, Charlie.
Mm.
What is that a great exaggeration about the sportsman's home?
Hunter's home.
Hunter's home.
Hunters Home, yeah, that was, we called that the French colony down there. They were all French people down there. They were mostly from San Jose. And it was on the order of Springs Hotel. It was, they had this large ballroom and windows all around it, and they had stuffed birds, and it was real attractive, you know, a big baby grand piano. And they used to dance in there. The people that lived here, you know, they had places here. And they had 2 rooms, not as many as Springs had for the Hunters, too.
Hunter's Home is what it was.
Yeah, Hunters Home.
Hunter's Home.
I got that new
It burnt down. It burned down the time that Barney had that fire.
He started a fire, didn't he?
Well, he was carrying a motor, and I don't know, he went somewhere where there was fire, and it started the fire, and he got kind of wild, I guess, and stood trying to put it out right away. It got out of control. He put his home down, and a couple other places down there.
I guess my story was a little bit off. I thought somebody told me that he was starting his gasoline motor down there for his well. He had a well down there, remember? And he had a motor, and he was gassing it up, and he lit his cigar at it.
No, that isn't the way I heard it. I heard that he went by something in the spark. Started the fire spark from something. Well, maybe it was his cigar.
But it was because he smoked cigars constantly. They were never without one in his mouth.
Now, Barney was the owner of the Hunter's Home.
No, Barney's owned that double 2-story place down there.
He bought the Hunter's Home from the people who...
Yeah. It was called DeMette Place. It was French people.
This place here?
That's
the
Barney's
That was
house.
Barney.
Barney's house?
He built that after the fire, huh?
He
Says
put that double story on there. That was,
Got Roy Williams on the back, and you say Barney's?
No, but maybe that's a Roy Williams collection.
Oh.
Is that name short? Was it by Walt Johnson?
Barney's place was called, a big butcher shop in San Jose. What's their name? Wentz Butcher Shop in San Jose, big place. That was their, Barney's place was their place.
He bought it from them.
And he bought it from them, and then he added that other story.
Well, did the Hunter's Home burn down, and that did not, Wentz place didn't burn down?
No, Barney's place didn't burn, no.
Oh.
No, because it was across
I
on...
thought the whole thing
You see, Hunter's Home was right on the water, and
There's
Barney's,
a separation.
there was a walk there, yeah.
Oh.
Separation. And,
But it was adjacent to the Wentz place?
no, Barney's place was originally the Wentz place.
Yes.
You know how you spell that?
W-E-N-D-T.
He never owned the Sportsman's Home then. Is that true?
You mean the Hunter's Home?
Hunter's Home, yeah.
I think he did, didn't he?
I thought he did.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. Harley.
So he owned Wentz and the Hunter's Home.
We saw.
But it was originally called DeMette. I mean, Hunter's Home.
Did you know a woman that lived down here by the name of Rita Lowley? Lowley.
That was one of them, and then
At least that was
Lally.
American.
And the lady,
The other one was Brenda Catanich.
Katanich, yes, that's what I was thinking of.
We saw a film, a short film that was done by a fellow down here in 1973. He interviewed those 2 ladies. And Mrs. Lally described like there were sort of 3 divisions of the kinds of people that lived on the island, at least from her perspective.
Mrs. Katanich was the one who owned the witches.
Was that another gun club, or?
Yeah.
I see.
He got, Yeah, Richard. Oh, yeah. Furnish and Redditch. Oh, yeah, that's her brother. But it's Salonen people. Oh.
But she described, Mrs. Lally described the end of the island down there is it's the vast crowd from San Jose.
Oh, no.
Well, yeah, but didn't your dad tell you to stay away from down there in the South End?
Well, when I was a kid, he didn't care for those people. Well, no, we kind of were cliquey. All of us that stayed up here, we stayed up here.
Okay,
Yeah. And we didn't mix so much with them down there. They were mostly all such easy folk people. But no, they weren't wild. I don't know anybody else.
Well, there was some out feuding like between Bill Holden and his brother Lou. They went for years last
Well,
week.
that's family. They lived here, but yet they didn't speak to each other? That's a close, those are close quarters for that.
Yeah, well, didn't they kind of shield their faces? They walked by on the railroad as they passed. Isn't that true?
Bill Holden, he
Or
was.
a newspaper or something like
Bill
that.
Holden was kind of mean. He lived in that place
Oh,
over there.
He wasn't to be fooled. He was capable of murder.
He was mean. He was a prize fighter one time, I think.
Yeah, and his nose showed it too. He collected a lot of them right in the nose.
Well, anyway, one time, when the old man lived next door to Hardy's, Louie was over there one day and says, Louie liked the old man Holden. And he was over there, and Bill come in and he started to beat his father up. And Louie pitched in and beat up Bill Holden. He got broken ribs from it. Yeah, that happened.
That's what started the feud. And then from that time on, they didn't get along well at all. And that was the separating point, I think. Don't you?
No, I think
They didn't speak for years.
Bill was a mean one. He never had much to do with the other two brothers, Lloyd and Louie. They were living here, but he didn't have anything to do with any of them.
Did they have a bridge tender for both bridges, or did the same guy take care of both bridges?
No, they had 3 bridge tenders. You mean after the time of the First World War?
Well, when both of them were operating, both bridges, the Coyote and the Slip.
Well, they were always operating. You see, in the beginning, there was only 1 bridge tender here.
Or were they 24-hour service?
Yeah. You had people had to blow the whistle, and then they'd go out and they had.
But there was one man would turn out for either way.
Or
did they have 2 people on duty?
No, there was only 1 man in the beginning. Up until the time of the First World War, there was only 1 man. First was Mundashire, and then it was old man. I can't think of names.
Wasn't Hardy?
And no, Hardy was after the time of the war. They were afraid of sabotage here of the bridges.
They had military guards on them during the war?
I think in the beginning. So then they put the 3 bridge tenders round the clock, 8-hour shift.
Oh.
And there was Hardy was day shift, and Carrera was day shift, and Hardy was early night, and Holden was late night.
Mm.
And that was up until.
But they stayed right on those ships. They didn't rotate.
No, they kept the same shift all the time, and they lived here. They all lived here. And that was up until about in the 40s, wasn't it, when they started ending that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So what kind of vessels would go through here?
Oh, years ago on Saturday and Sunday, a whole regatta from San Francisco or Palo Alto, anywhere.
In El Viso, I presume.
All the whole string of them come through, you know.
Sailing boats?
In yachts, yeah. Because it was very deep water. And they would come in and they would whistle for this bridge, they'd open it up, and up inside was all kinds of big slings. They'd sail around up in there and come off the other bridge with the wind.
Oh,
We
wow.
came here one time in a 46-foot yacht from San Francisco Marina.
And tied up back in
We tied up and back in his place. One Sunday, we came down here and had a big dinner.
Oh.
Because there was that much water.
It really is how much it has changed. Oh.
Was it? Did you have to pay to have the bridge rotated?
No, they had just,
Was it the county did it or SP?
no, Southern Pacific.
Oh.
The Southern
They
Pacific.
still open it for you if you give them 24 hours notice.
Now, but in those days, years ago, they just blow the whistle and the bridge tender go out.
Oh.
Was it hand crank?
No, there's a motor. There's motors in both of them. This one down here is solid bridge now, but one time it opened too.
Oh.
And gasoline.
When was that?
This was done by
taken out
motor,
and made
yeah.
into a trestle?
Late 40s.
Late 40s.
Yeah. No, I think it was when I came back from Bethel Island, really, about 1957.
Well, they were rebuilding the bridge. I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not.
That's the time, yeah. They took the motor out.
There was lumber floating around here for years after the great big old planks, and that's where these great big timbers came from.
Yeah.
8 by 18 by 30 foot long.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Have under my cabin I got from you, I believe.
I got 5 alongside the cabin up there.
18 by 30 feet?
It's floated. Then the Southern Pacific used to, whenever they put new ties in, they throw the old ones up.
Well, they were rebuilding the bridge. I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not.
That's the time, yeah. They took the motor out.
There was lumber floating around here for years after the great big old planks, and that's where these great big timbers came from.
Yeah.
8 by 18 by 30 foot long.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Have under my cabin I got from you, I believe.
I got 5 alongside the cabin up there.
18 by 30 feet?
It's floated. Then the Southern Pacific used to, whenever they put new ties in, they throw the old ones down there on the marsh, and then I'd wait for a big high tide. Many nights on a high tide, I'd come out here with boots on and push the back here on the tide. You know, you just push them with the fingers.
Always something. Yeah, those.
Oh, we got a lot of
they
old
weighed
stuff in there.
maybe 5 tons. 5 tons.
Oh, my.
You could just keep them like that. Once you get it going, problem might be to keep it
Hey, one night I was bringing a bunch of ties back here. I think it was about 40 of them. And all of a sudden, that was before
starting to go.
that was before this levee was over here, before this salt pop. And the darn thing started to go. I thought, oh my God, they're doing all these warm springs. And I got a hold of them and pulled it back.
Oh, my.
Later, as the tide didn't come so good, and the grass grew, I know we raised up on our place, if you remember. And we would, I was working, so I. Well, they were rebuilding the bridge. I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not.
That's the time, yeah. They took the motor out.
There was lumber floating around here for years after the great big old planks, and that's where these great big timbers came from.
Yeah.
8 by 18 by 30 foot long.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Have under my cabin I got from you, I believe.
I got 5 alongside the cabin up there.
18 by 30 feet?
It's floated. Then the Southern Pacific used to, whenever they put new ties in, they throw the old ones down there on the marsh, and then I'd wait for a big high tide. And many nights on a high tide, I'd come out here with boots on and push the back here on the tide. You know, you just push them with the fingers.
Always something. Yeah, those.
Oh, we got a lot of
they
old
weighed
stuff in there.
maybe 5 tons. 5 tons.
Oh, my.
You could just keep them like that. Once you get it going, problem might be to keep it
Hey, one night I was bringing a bunch of ties back here. I think it was about 40 of them. And all of a sudden, that was before
starting to go.
that was before this levee was over here, before this salt pop. And the darn thing started to go. I thought, oh my God, they're doing all these warm springs. And I got a hold of them and pulled it back.
Oh, my.
Later, as the tide didn't come so good, and the grass grew, I know we raised several of us, I remember. And we would, I was working, so I put a little stretched long rubber band on them. When they would be lying out there in the marsh, and then when the tide came up during the night, why the rubber band would pull them in.
What? I used to tie a rope on them.
And get up in the night. Oh,
And get up, and when the tide was high, I'd get up and pull the rope.
I had a night crew going there, and they
Yeah.
would fall about 10, 15 feet that way, and then have to reset it. Wind up the band, whatever.
How large was the band, the rubber band?
Well, it was a tube.
Yeah.
Tube. Tire tube.
Mm-hmm.
No, you could just push them with your finger.
Let's see.
You see, there's 15 pounds, is it 15 or 30 pounds per square inch pressure.
Mm.
I think it's 30, isn't it?
I don't know.
So a lot of pressure in water. And those big heavy timbers, they just slip into it. There's, by my place up there, were they 30 foot long? I pushed 7 there by myself.
8 by 18 by 30 foot was kind of a standard bridge areas. That was for fully treated or not. Just weren't treated.
Come off the bridge.
Yeah. You were there with me. What the whole works.
Yeah, had some great experiences around here.
I wanted to ask you, Nellie, when you were here as you were growing up and later too, what kinds of things did you do? Did you like to fish, or did you hunt ducks?
You know, when I was a little kid, when I first came here, I was 10 years old, and the schools used to put them in crabs, you know. Used to get out of the tin can. That's what the kids used to do around here.
Catch the crabs and put them in tin
Just,
cans?
you know, just play, you know. And then, of course, years later, when the pollution got so bad, we had a lot of mussels here, too.
Oh.
The banks were full of mussels. The pollution killed them all.
Mm.
Well, you can see the evidence. The clams are on it, shells all over.
My father used to bring clams out here in the slough and bring them home and put a lot of cornmeal in it.
Right.
Yeah. They were wonderful clams.
I know my parents used to go and eat, and the clams, some of them eat that cornmeal.
Yeah, it cleans them out.
No.
Floating on the top of that.
I don't know what it does, but it does
Big
something.
fish pan, you fill it up with fresh
Yeah, you put all the clams in
all
there.
the clams got their necks up eating that cornmeal.
No kidding, the clams like
Burgers
cornmeal?
were all the same.
Takes all the junk out of them.
That's pretty clever. I didn't know that.
A short time later, Nellie was shown a picture that had been taken in 1904, and it was a group photo of people waiting at the railroad station for the train.
Crowd in front of the hotel. Crowd in front of the station.
Yes.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
my.
I got a picture home right beside the paper. Just that house that my dad had.
Oh, that's a lovely house. I like that house.
Which one is that? Well, that's your old house.
The old house over there, you know, I don't know how everybody could ever get over there now.
Oh,
Oh, your father's old place.
yeah.
That's where he went away from that place the day he died.
Oh.
He went in the launch. I think what have to kill him was the tide was going out, and he pushed the launch down this slough. You see that there's a kind of sandy bottom a little bit in this slough back there. And he pushed it down to the big slough, see? And I think he overdid.
Oh, he didn't die here.
No, he died up Newby Island.
He was hunting ducks, wasn't he?
We had a freshwater pond up there. He had one, you know where Newby Island is. You know where the sewer plant is?
In that direction.
You know, off of the Nimitz Freeway. Of course, the Nimitz wasn't there then.
Uh-huh.
But there's a little airport there.
Yes, yes.
Behind it is a slough.
Uh-huh.
And you can go right from here up that slough. And there's an island there, too. And my father had a freshwater pond on that island, which he rented from the salt company.
He went from here that afternoon, pushed the boat down the slough to the high water in the mid-slough, and went up there, which is quite a little ways from here.
Yes.
And when he shot a couple of ducks and picked one up, and he reached for the other one, and he got dead. And
Is anybody with him?
yeah, Drawbridge. I don't think you knew him.
No.
He was with him, and he went right over to him, but tried to revive him. And he said about 500 ducks came in. It was the most beautiful sight. We just went around the pond and flew away, and it was right at sunset. So he died the way he wanted to die. So he goes, yeah, now this looks nice. Doesn't it look like nice people?
Oh, sure.
They look like wonderful people.
They
They
really
really
look
do.
like a bunch of bums raised in hell.
No, that's a fantastic picture. I think that's beautiful.
Drinking and singing and all that stuff.
When people would sing, maybe drink some beer. We used to catch shrimp, you know. I met off the bridge and catch shrimp, and then the men would drink maybe some beer. Old man Sprung had,
Oh, Louis, I remember Louis, though. Louis used to drink till he got glassy-eyed. He was just like a... I mean, he walked
what was
back
it, steam beer, or what they call it in the olden days? Yeah.
Now this was Louis who?
Louis Holden.
Louis Holden.
Boys.
Oh, Louis.
No, Louis Wallace, not, Louis, I don't know about that, Louis. I'm talking about the other Louis.
Well, Louis Wallace used to get...
He used to get drunk on wine.
Yeah.
But he never...
Brandy.
Brandy.
We went there one day and the place was so
But
hot.
they never got mean or caused disturbances, Charlie. No, anybody can take a drink.
No, but I just think it was funny.
No, my father played penny ante on Saturday night, but my father never drank. And his whole life, he never drank liquor. But maybe others take a shot of whiskey. You know, all others do. But I mean, like the newspaper said that there was gambling and boisterous people and all that. That's
They even had a report there was a barber shop here, and all the barbers. Yeah.
The barber shop?
And the barber stools were still there.
Oh, really? Yes.
I really enjoy when you talk about barbers like that. They're still up there and all that.
Oh, really?
It's created all those
And
stories.
of course, everybody, all the people
Come rushing out.
all down here the next day.
For the antique.
And they talked about a piano still being in one house.
No, Barney had a piano.
He did. There is a remnant of a piano. I wondered about that because that was pointed out.
But that wasn't for anything bad. It created like a bad place.
One article that I read did say that there were as many as 2,000 to 3,000 people on weekends at one time here. I can't imagine it holding that many people. That was another newspaper story, I take it.
Apparently my question was either distressing or distasteful to Nellie because she looked straight ahead, sort of set her lips, and didn't answer. In the same sources that gave figures of 2,000 to 3,000 people on weekends in the 30s, there were also references to gambling activities and also, I think, the prostitution that was supposedly going on there. And there were also rumors of mob or mafia connections at one time. Apparently, these were not entirely just rumors and not entirely without foundation. But in any case, Nellie was not going to accept anything that gave the impression that Drawbridge was anything but a wholesome family community, even though she had admitted to certain prejudices and a certain type of snobbishness against the people from the south end of the island. It was somewhat of a paradox that many of the anecdotes that she told and many of the incidents she described had to do with some rather colorful behavior, yet she apparently did not see that she was making somewhat contradictory statements in insisting that nothing ever went on in Drawbridge that was, quote, bad, unquote.
I'd like to ask you something again about your father's house.
Yeah.
I love the way that the living room was divided from the bedroom area. I think it was there must have been china cupboards there.
Oh,
Little catty corner.
I love those little catty corner places. Yeah.
Do you remember what was in them?
We put our dishes there.
Yes, the dishes that you used on the table. I looked at that and wondered if you put little pretty dishes and things up there.
No, not in that time.
Mm-hmm.
Did they have glass?
It was a utility type thing then.
No, it was open. I built a home in Burbank in 1929, sort of my marriage. I stayed there in a couple of years. And I copied those corner cupboards in my home down there.
Oh, you did? Oh.
Because I just love those little corner cupboards.
Mm-hmm. I was so impressed when I first saw that, and I like this house. I didn't know it was your father's at the time.
Yeah, it was. Mm-hmm. And we had all burlap on the walls.
The
walls were covered with burlap. My father had it painted green.
Oh.
There were 2 bedrooms and the little living room, and then you step down into the kitchen.
Nellie had mentioned that each house or cabin had a name and each had a flagpole when she was talking about the family atmosphere of the area. Yet at this point I asked her about the names of the homes and cabins, and she reiterated the names of the gun clubs that she remembered. And when she finished, I asked if private homes were named, such as the one that had been mentioned earlier, called the Don't Worry. But she said no, she didn't recall people naming their houses. She continued identifying buildings from the photographs.
Molly, you see the roofs right over there beyond where the Indian lady lived. It's a long building that was close to your parents' house. Who lived there?
Parriches. P-R-I-C-H. Parrich and Scott. Tony Scott. They had a big restaurant in San Francisco.
I see.
It was called, that's where Tony's Gun Club was.
Oh, I see.
Scott and Parrich was their name.
And they had a gun club there. Tony's Gun Club.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they had beautiful furniture in that place.
Oh, did they?
It was all stone, yeah.
Oh, what a shame. There's another little place in front of it, a little L-shaped house, and it had decorative metal lining inside on the ceiling, and it had sort of engraving in the metal the ceiling that had been on the ceiling, and that looked like it might have been a nice place. It had square nails too, so it was apparently one of the quite old places.
You know there by the station?
Mm-hmm. It's yes, it's just close to the home that was closest to the station. There's one close to the railroad tracks, and then this one was just on this side of it. And it's tiny and it's L-shaped. Mm-hmm. It's sinking very fast. Mm-hmm.
She felt she could not recall exactly what place it was unless she went down there and commented that she should go down and take a look around. Later, she did identify the place as the Murdoch's place, but knew nothing significant about it.
I'm sorry. The people who had the place across from, just before you get to the water tower, on this side, it's a large place.
Right across from
the Bishops.
That's
Did you know the Bishops?
Bishop, California is named after
Oh.
that man. Yeah, and he one time was going to build an electric railroad from San Jose out to Alviso.
Oh.
Yeah.
And
They had beautiful furniture in there. And they had a painting in there of the Golden Gate, a large painting, before the bridge was ever built and somebody stole it.
oh no. Between your father's house, and then beyond that is a water tower and a boat house. They said there was another house. That was Richie's.
And that's Richie's boathouse. Our first house was between it and the one where my father went when he died.
I see.
Ours set between, what on this map here? This is Richie's.
And that was the one that was moved then.
No, this is the one that was
Oh,
moved.
that's the one that was
That's
moved.
our first house. That was the one that was moved away. And his boathouse is right in here now.
Yes.
That's what you see there now.
I see. Now, then that's what I was trying to place on there. Charlie mentioned that this was, he knew this as the Hawk House. And
The
the
what?
Hawk, H-A-W.
Oh! Mr. Ritchie and his wife had some trouble. They had an adopted son. And I don't know whether there was trouble between them, and they separated. And he was very bitter about it. And he didn't want his
The essence of Nellie's explanation was to the effect that Mr. Ritchie did not want his wife to have the house, and he eventually gave it to Mrs. Hawk. No further explanation of that situation was given.
That place, the one that burnt down.
Lou Holden's place?
The one that showed you here, this one. This is the back end of it.
Oh.
Here, a month before a fire, or a couple of months before the fire, some come in here and wrecked his woodshed. This is woodshed there.
Oh,
And they wrecked it, tore it all down. And then the time of the fire last month, or a couple of months ago, they burnt this place down, too. This was Holden's place.
Lou
This one
Holden?
here. Yeah, Louis Holden, yeah.
Oh.
And this is the one I told you that Hawks bought. And this was part of Susie's, Eddie Caesar's place. It burnt down, too, a couple of years ago. And they say this old thing is way out here on the end here. I don't know. Now, one time, this slough here was so wide, you could go all the way up to this big slough. And then the other side of that salt pond, you could cut off big wide slough in there. Say it's filled in now. And you came through here, you come right out here. And here you come right in here. You could go clear around. When I was a kid, I used to roll around.
Oh, you did.
Mm-hmm.
Did you spend quite a lot of time boating? Did you enjoy that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I never did learn how to swim. And my sons wouldn't teach me when I got older. And my sons also could swim. I got 3 sons.
Oh.
And they could swim. I think they learned down here.
It's a good thing to know for them.
Oh, my God, I wish I knew how, because I love the water.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Nellie said that she used to like to watch the ducks.
Oh, place out there in the marsh, a little pond. When the tide come in, there would be water, see?
Mm-hmm.
And I had these ducks. I had about 7 mallards
Oh.
in the shed back there. And I made a little hole in the fence with a little door on it. And when the tide came in, and I had a rock going down, and those ducks would be down there. Just swim around, have a big time.
Oh. They really liked that, huh?
Like a bunch of soldiers going down there. And then when the tide would go out, they'd come back up to walk again.
Oh, how neat. Well, I understand that ducks make really charming pets. Mm.
Yeah, they're real nice. They're so pretty, too.
Oh,
And one
those are
time
gorgeous.
I had some quail, too, but they were pretty hard to take care of.
Mm. They were wild quail?
Oh. I put the eggs under a bandy hen.
Wow.
And it was too difficult to keep. They're pretty wild, but ducks was pretty good. They were tame.
Oh, that's really cute.
Yeah.
I think quails are darling. I think it's amazing you were able to.
I love quail.
And you were able to hatch the egg. That's quite a feat in
Yeah, a
itself.
little bandy hen. I put them under the bandy hen.
They're funny that way, bandy hens are they?
I love bandy hens.
I do too. I used to have them as pets.
When I was up at Buffalo Island, I had a pair with the feathers on their feet, you know.
Yeah.
Both white, the male and the female. Oh, they were so cute. I call them Snowball.
Oh, how neat. The next several minutes were spent in identifying more photographs.
This is a woodshed, and the
Oh.
witch was in front of it. Yeah, that's how I got confused about it.
Oh, I
You see that thing by the station? It says Murdoch. Maybe my old Murdoch place. Murdoch's had 2 places. They had one on this side down there, and maybe that was Murdoch. Probably is, because Tony's Gun Club behind it. Yeah, that's Murdoch. So write Murdoch on there.
Oh, where? On this one?
On that long thing.
Okay, Murdoch.
No, where are you?
I'm up here right now.
No, that's Hattie White.
No, yeah, right.
Hattie and Hattie White. I can't think of her husband's name.
Anyway, okay, and this is Murdoch here?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And this is the witchhead of who?
The Widgeon.
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 Is that another kind of duck? I mean,
Yeah. Very
Widgeon?
good duck, yeah. Very good duck. Widgeon. And the people's name is Catanich. C-A-U, that gentleman was talking
All
about.
right.
Oh, yeah.
C-A-T-A-N-I-C-H, Mrs. Catanich. We always call her Catanich. She always called herself Catanich. She was kind of a little bit, she didn't like the name of Catanich, so she said Catanich. Her husband always said Catanich. We always called him Catanich.
Oh.
They were Slavonian people.
Mm-hmm.
But she wasn't Slavonian. She was, she used to live up on the Klamath River. She was a school teacher up there somewhere in the Indian country.
Mm.
How do you spell Catanich?
C-A-T-A-N-I-C-H. Tepper. He drowned over at Half-Moon Bay. That Sunday. He was quite athletic. His daughter and my sister, his sister and my sister went to school together in the mission. Tepper, T-E-P-P-E-R.
Oh. Did you know Heinz Billy?
Yeah. Yeah, I was down here one Sunday and I was going home and he says, don't go home. Why don't you stay a little while longer? And but it was cold and miserable. And son of a gun, he died next day.
Oh, he did. Oh. Mm.
It's Richie's place. Look at his walker. First, when I got off the train that night in June, my father and Richie were waiting there by the station. This walk was right on the other side of the station.
Oh.
And I got off the train, and I walked down that walk, and another walk came across here to where our house was. And I liked it. I liked the place then. I've liked it ever since. That was the first walk I ever walked on.
Oh, that's neat.
That was in June 1910.
This picture when you did that.
No, when I walked over that walk.
June 1910, yeah.
This was a complex of walkways, according to Charlie. Is that correct? There were some from the station back to their house and and then later to your father's house?
Yeah, to the first place we had, the one that was moved away. Yeah, just about here.
Mm-hmm.
Went over like that.
Oh, yeah.
Because that wasn't there then. That's his shed. He built that around 1930, I think.
He built the shed?
Our place was over here.
Oh, yeah.
But you came in like this, and then you branched off this way. The same kind of walk.
Oh.
But that's the first walk I ever walked on in Drawbridge. I think it was around 7 o'clock in the evening when I got here.
Oh, it sounds neat. Did you come down from San Francisco on the train that
I
day?
came living out in the Mission. You know anything about San Francisco?
Mm-hmm.
I was living out on 21st Street, I think. 21st and Cap.
Hmm.
And I know I got on the streetcar, went down to the ferry building, and got on the boat, and got on the train, and got off there.
Neat. You don't think of the train just coming almost clear down here these days because it's changed so much with the bay and the train travel.
When we used to come down on the train, all we would see was fields.
Fields.
All around San Leandro and San Lorenzo was all fields in those days.
Fields?
Orchards, yeah.
My goodness, fruit and
And down by Alvarado was all potato fields and cauliflower fields.
potatoes and cauliflower.
Oh yeah, it was all potatoes and cauliflower right in there.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and now it's all built up.
Oh wow, it certainly is.
I remember coming on the train later years, looking out the window at night. The whole country was all dark. You just think now everything's lit up.
Really is. All you see are the lights.
You walked down this walk on June 2nd, what?
Beg your pardon?
When did you walk down this walk? June 2nd?
June 1910. I don't know what date. Excuse me, I don't know what date it was, but it was in June 1910. I was born 29th in Mission.
Oh, you were?
My father was a dentist.
Oh.
And that's where we were at the time of the big earthquakes. And downstairs was a grocery store. That was in 1906.
Mm-hmm.
And my father, of course, in those days, doctors and dentists had their offices in flats or homes. They didn't have big office buildings like they do now. And my father and this doctor were together. They had their offices together. In fact, he was there, in fact, when I was born, my sister was born. And he was out on a case. And the earthquake was around 5:18 in the morning. And I remember that. I remember my mother was screaming, and my grandmother was there too, and she was screaming. And I remember I had one of those child's cribs I was in, a big one, because my sister was a little baby then. And I remember jumping out of this crib and getting in my mother's bed and jumping out and getting back in this crib, and all that time it was shaking. And this doctor came rushing home. And he says, and my mother said, hurry up, he says, and fill everything up with water. He says, all the water mains are broken. And my mother, she filled the bathtub and all the pots and pans and all everything. And downstairs was the grocery store. And they owned the building. The name was Tunnicliff. And all the groceries, everything fell down on the middle of the floor. And what they could save, they brought up in our flat, because we had quite a big flat. And they stored everything up there, and then they put the militia on guard, because people were, breaking in to get food.
yes.
And see, we were on the main thoroughfare. Mission Street was the main street out in San Francisco in those days. And I remember I used to sit in my father's dental chair and watch the parade going by. All the people, going out to get away from the fire. And every little while, for a week, there were little earthquakes all the time. Little aftershocks.
Aftershocks.
So that's where I was, the big earthquake.
Oh.
And I'm scared of big earthquakes.
I am too. And I wasn't in one.
That's that little one.
Yeah.
Nothing like that.
Oh, that would be something. And
Fire, was scared. My father got scared. So he dug a great big hole in the backyard and buried his dental chair and all his implements and everything. And he made a wagon, like out of the boards and skates.
oh,
In case we had to go. Because in those days, people didn't have automobiles. Just had horse and wagons in those days. And of course, in San Francisco, everybody didn't have a horse and wagon or horse and buggy.
no.
I remember when I was a kid, you see 2 or 3 automobiles a day. Why, it was something.
Oh, damn.
Everything was horses and wagons. I've seen a lot in my life.
You certainly have. Oh, the changes have come so fast in this century. You have seen.
a lot. I remember when I was a kid, we had gas light. Electricity, gas light, and then the gas lamps on the street. The man used to come every evening, light all the gas lamps.
The lamplighter?
Yeah, lamplighter. Then we had phonographs for amusement. We had a Nickelodeon, 5 cents go in the theater, 5 cents Nickelodeon.
Wow.
And man stood up in the gallery, reading off the pictures, making comments. That was our only entertainment. Then the little radio come in, the little tiny, what do you call it, sets, and then the other radio.
Crystal set?
Radio, TV. Oh, I'm telling you.
The space age.
Where did your father come from?
My father came from, my mother and father were born in Chatham, Ontario, Canada.
Oh.
My mother was, anyway, but my father was born in Detroit, but he was raised in Ontario because Chatham is only about 50 miles from Detroit. And my grandfather, on my mother's side, came from England. I guess my father's side came from Ireland. I'm Irish, English, and my mother's father was Scotch. Got a mixture.
This ends the condensation of the 2-hour original tape made of the interview with Nellie Dollin. It is recommended that at another time, perhaps better recording equipment can be used. When the recording was taken, conditions were certainly not ideal. The island is near a small airport, and of course anyone listening to this can hear the planes in the background, as well as a great deal of other background noise. There was no way to isolate ourselves from other people's voices in the course of our work there. So it is recommended that this tape be re-edited from the original 120-minute tape and re-recorded with noise-reducing equipment, if possible, at some other time. There is additional conversation on another tape, but it primarily consists of the conversation between Susan Koch and Nellie. Susan was working on the photography archives, and most of that tape was simply the identification of buildings. It will be retained for the records, however. One other thing that should be mentioned, Nellie was asked if we could take her picture. We had photos of her as a young woman, and she had provided us with some also. But we did not have a recent photo. I had my Polaroid camera with me. And at first she said, no, I'd rather you would not do that. And we felt that her wishes should be respected if she did not want her picture taken. However, she added, I'm afraid that I might break your camera. And by the way she said it, I got the feeling that she really would be flattered to have her picture taken after all. So we took several shots of her and let her retain a couple that she really liked.